It's just about inspiring people out there to live their dreams.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Do you want me to take your phone?
So
how long is the show?
The network actually started about almost 17 years ago. This particular show is in multiple segments. We have 2 segments, an 11-minute and then a 9-minute set aside. However, I blocked the whole hour for Jeff, for you, in case you are getting into such a deep conversation. We never want to cut a guest off. We can take care of anything in post-production. So you're under no pressure to go longer, pressure to go shorter. This is Barbara, by the way, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
And
Barbara,
Barbara,
tell Robert a little bit about your background, Barbara, because it's pretty impressive, like with Subaru and all that.
Actually Mazda, but I was the one.
Oh, Mazda, sorry.
It's okay. All of the affinity marketing and relationship marketing for Mazda for the Miata for 18 years. Mazda Motor of America for the little car, the Miata. But journalistically started with the Chicago Tribune and then the LA Daily News and a few other things. But this is about Jeff today and about you. Jeff, the way you're positioned, if you could move just a couple inches to your right.
This way?
Just a little bit. Yeah, okay. Great.
Like
that?
Yeah,
because then you have a jet plane over your head and then off to your left shoulder, but not coming out of your left shoulder quite so
I can
much.
change that if you want, the background. I just thought that was a cool
I love
picture.
your background.
Okay. That's I'm flying the jet on the top, flying formation with the X-29. That was doing a NASA job years ago. I thought it was kind of a cool picture.
Love the backup.
So
Paul, when you are ready to bring Jeff in, and when Robert and Jeff are both ready, we can rock and roll. Jeff's counterpart, Jack, had started his first podcast and then vodcast a few years before Jeff, and he raked up to 30 million listens. So we're pretty enthusiastic about the direction we're going. Unfortunately, we're cut short by COVID, but we're back.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, and Robert, this is real organic. There's nothing scripted. It's just really about you and I talking. It's so I know a fair amount about you, so I'll kind of get into that. I like talking about how you got started, what inspired you to do what you do, that kind of thing. It's to, so people know, like they know you. Most everybody in the world knows who you are, but the success story of getting there, and and even some of the failures along the way, and that's not being afraid to fail and fall down and pick yourself back up. It's inspirational. If you want to get into I know you're big on the schools right now. We can talk about the school system. We're on the same page. And for what it's worth, I just am so honored to have you here. I just can't thank you enough. I think the world of you, and your time is so valuable. And for you to be here is really very huge to me and us. So,
well, time's important to all of us.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about flying, because you have jets in the back, and I love flying.
Okay. Yeah, and we got that in common too. So, okay. Hello, everybody. This is Jeff Senour, and welcome to Backstage Pass. Today, I have the honor of having an icon with us today, and you're going to love meeting him and getting to know him. You already know who he is. but get to know this guy is just incredible, and it's such an honor to have him. Please welcome Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. Robert, how's it going?
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. I think it's important to talk about how we met. It's of our love of flying.
Absolutely, we have that in common. In fact, we're both helicopter guys, which is kind of being a rotor head. And uh, my helicopter flying is all civilian. Yours was actual action, and I want to hear about that. There you go. Tell us about that. What year did you go into the military? When did you start flying helicopters?
Well, the way it worked out was in 1965. I flunked out of school because I can't write. Ironically, I have the #1 book in history right now, and it's
Right.
not that I couldn't write. We laugh about this, you and I. That it's not that I couldn't write. The teachers didn't like what I was writing. You know, the
You
teachers
have
don't like it.
26 books, is it? 26 books, I think.
Well, the point is, it's 25 years. I'm still #1 in the world,
Amazing.
unheard
Yeah.
of. And even Rich Dad Poor Dad got turned down because the editors, editors are like my poor dad, they're academics. And most academics are Marxists. They don't know it, but they are in philosophy. So my poor dad, so 1965, I'm flunking out of school. And the good thing about my poor dad, he was a PhD from Stanford, Northwestern, and University of Chicago. And I hated school. And so when I flunked out my second time, my father just fired the teacher because he was the head of education. And suddenly I got new respect. I was a big man on campus, All
Yeah.
was afraid of me. But he went in front of the whole school. This is what I loved about my dad. He went in front of the whole school. It was 2,400 students. It was a big school in Hawaii. And it says the job of a teacher is not to flunk a student. The job of a teacher is to teach a student. So
Right.
if you fail a student, the teacher failed. And the real fact of the matter was, out of 100 students, the teacher failed 95 of us. So he just liked
Wow.
failing us. So that's how my academic career started. I thought it was finished. I mean, my sisters are A students and all that stuff, and I'm flunking out. And that was the first time I considered flying because the Vietnam War had just started, and they were looking for pilots.
Wow.
So I wanted to join the Marine. I also wanted to join the Marine Corps. And when I said to my mom and dad, I'm going to join the Army and fly the Huey, boy, they panicked.
Yeah. You want to do what? You
And
realize
anyway,
there's a war going on.
I got nominations to the U.S. Naval Academy, pretty tough school to get into, and U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I'm not stupid. I just had bad grades and a bad attitude. So I needed a good attitude. And so the academy kind of straightened me out. And then when I graduated in 69, the Vietnam War was still on. And my background is in oil. So when I was at Kings Point, the Merchant Marine Academy, which is oil supply chains, my background is in oil. And I could see this war. The Vietnam War was about oil. I don't know if you know that. Occidental
Yeah.
Petroleum was out there. So I said, well, I may as well go fly now. And instead of taking a high-paying job with Standard Oil, which I did for a few months, I joined the U.S. Marine Corps, went to flight school in Pensacola, Florida. And Jeff, it's a love affair, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Flying is a love affair.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always marvel at, I've got over 30,000 hours now, and I never tire of it. People go, "When are you going to retire?" It's like, well, I am retired. I'm doing my hobby. I fly jets and helicopters, and in the civilian world and the corporate world. And after retiring from Southwest, once it's in your soul, it's not a job. It's a passion, and we love doing it. And I've had the honor of flying you on your jet, and
Yeah.
that's just such an amazing. That's how we met, and
I,
so
I should get a model of a Lear 60 instead of this thing.
I think you should. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should take care of
I'll
that.
order
And I love the Lear 60 because it's got lots of power. It's like
it.
basically a civilian fighter. So
Well, that's why the
But
picture to your lower left corner, to your over your left shoulder, is like a Lear 60. You know, and that's
yeah, well, that picture, that's a Lear 25 with the camera system that I fly. And we're actually filming an X-29 for NASA in this picture. I thought it was appropriate for you and I today.
yeah. Anyway, it's if you can live life like this, where you're just in love with what you're doing, and this, let me tell you, this was terrifying. You know, I loved what I did, but the reason I chose the gunship was because our life expectancy was 30 days. And but this is the lesson I give to people: the more dangerous the job or the mission, the better you've got to be. So a lot of times people take things that aren't dangerous, so they never get to be the best they can be.
Yeah.
And if well, I don't care what it is, you know, like even in television, I watch that those chef shows, you know, that they chop it and cooking and all this.
Right.
You
Right.
know, public humiliation. If you lose a chef show, you're in pretty bad shape. So if it's a lesson we can pass on, it's the more dangerous the mission, the better you got to be.
Yeah.
But most people want to be average, and that's their choice. You know, the world needs average people, but your show's not dedicated to average people. That's a big difference.
Absolutely. And I talk all the time about, you know, we're living in a world that we want to try to eliminate risk. Everything's about, you know, and we have to be safe. I get that. But, you know, I've had people tell me, oh, I don't want to go up in a helicopter. That's dangerous. And I'm like, well, the 101 freeway in Phoenix is more dangerous than that helicopter. Trust me. So, you know, take a walk on the wild side, you know, you know, go skydiving, try it. I did. You know, I don't want to do it all the time, but you got to go out of your comfort level sometimes. And I can't imagine in Vietnam what that was like, the fear factor. But thinking of what you did, you probably, how many lives you must have saved, how many, you know, I've heard about the mortality rate as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and it wasn't very favorable. So
Yeah.
I commend you and thank you for your service and what you did for our country.
Well, we didn't do it to be thanked, you know. I mean, and for most of my friends, we hate it when people say thank you for your service. We just did what we're
Yeah,
supposed to do,
yeah,
and there's a big difference. That's why I love being a Marine. The other services are great: Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, but the Marines were a band of brothers. And you know,
yeah,
when we fought as a team. And there were so many times, Jeff, we're carrier pilots. And when an aircraft didn't come back, boy, it's the saddest day on earth. You know, you don't see your friends anymore. And
yeah.
I had to wait to go to the Vietnam Wall to say goodbye to them.
No,
But all that's part of life. Do you know what I mean? The
yeah,
end of life is also life.
yeah. Couple years ago, we did a concert on the USS Midway for the oldest Pearl Harbor survivor, Ray Chavez. He turned 105,
Wow.
and and one of my favorite stories is the news asked him, "What's it like to be 105, Ray?" He goes, "About when I was 60, just a little slower." And but he he would still get teary eyed when he would talk about the event at Pearl Harbor. He was in the harbor when it all happened, and you know that sticks with you, obviously, as you know, forever, your whole life. And
Yeah.
so,
And
I
on the
think,
flip side, what happened for my family was because it was the Japanese who attacked Pearl Harbor. My family was put in internment camps. So,
really,
yeah, we were locked up all up and down the west coast of America. And not to bring up a bad subject, but a lot of blacks are asking for reparations right now because of what happened during slavery. But my family lost everything. They lost their
yeah,
farms and stuff like this. And instead of being angry, my uncles, I had 7 uncles, volunteer for World War II. So 5
mm,
fought in Europe and two fought in the Pacific against the Japanese. And one of my uncles was captured by the Japanese, and tortured and all this. On top of that, when he was a POW, he was castrated. So if you want
Wow.
if you want reparations, you know, I mean, so I
Yeah.
went to talk to my uncles,
Yeah.
and they all came back alive, all seven. And they looked at me and they said, "So it's your duty to go and fight." And I said, "Yes, sirs." So that's why when the Vietnam War was up, it was a pretty easy decision. You know, we fight for our country, right or wrong, good or bad.
Yeah.
So that's why
Amazing.
people, when the Black Lives Matter are saying that we owe them living. Well, what about the American Indian? The Indian had their land taken away too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And all this
When
wimpy
you,
stuff bugs me.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and when you think of human history, there's always been,
Yeah,
everybody's had been treated unfairly at some point.
right.
When I raised my children, I tell them life is not fair. Get used to it. It's,
But that's what I'm saying is that too many people want the easy route.
right.
And for you and I, what's the hardest thing you can do? It's like it looks easy, the spacing between those two aircraft. But the first time I had to fly formation like this, man, I tell you, it's a thrill.
Yeah, it is. It's a rush, isn't it?
And then what would happen is we'd go into combat like this, you know, 4 gunships, and we're protecting the Jolly Green Giants and the CH-46s, you know. So where
Yeah.
the gunships are protecting the transport pilots, and the transport pilots have the hardest job of all because they're carrying the troops,
Yeah.
and they're not as agile and not as quick. So the gunship had a more precarious mission to swing in below and keep the guns down and all this stuff. But we operated
Hmm.
as a team. And there was this one day, this CH-53, the Jolly Green Giant, the pilot took a round through the cockpit. It scared him, and he popped his 53 in the nose up. And a Viet Cong put an SA-7 up his tail, a heat-seeking rocket, and
Wow.
and blew the hell out of the 53. It's a giant helicopter. His tail rotor, which this is the tail rotor here, hit the ground this way. It's a giant aircraft. I think it had 40 Marines on board,
Oh,
and they all died in there. And
wow.
that pilot came back alive. And Jeff, he was never the same, you know, because he knew
No.
that one round that went past his head, he panicked and he pulled back.
Yeah.
And the aircraft hit the ground, slammed, caught on fire. And I guess you can still hear them screaming. You know what I
Oh.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Living with that would be hard.
yeah. And so that's what when I come back and I hear people whining about this or, you know, uh, are you a male or a female and all this in school? I'm going, you know,
What a world, huh,
what are we
Robert?
what are we
Yeah.
teaching kids?
I
You know, you
know.
should be a boy. No, maybe you should be a girl this week. No, try to be a boy. What the hell
Yeah.
has happened to this country?
Yeah. I know. It's everything seems to be backwards and getting worse. I'm an optimist, but sometimes it's you got to be realistic and look at the world like how come right has become wrong, and it's just a crazy world we're living in. What did when you got out of the military, you started businesses, right? I know you've had several businesses. When did you think about becoming an author? I think it's amazing that you say you can't write, but here you are, the best seller in the world. It's
Well,
pretty amazing.
I flunked out of high school twice because I can't write. And again, it's not that I can't write. Teachers didn't like what I was writing. It's a big difference.
That's good. Yeah, interesting.
And just recently, I did 1 year ago, I did a talk at Arizona State University. The title of the talk was Health, Wealth, and Happiness, and 39 professors shut us down. So communism is alive and well on our campuses, and you can see it today. You know, the rioting between Palestinians and Jews, and they're harassing the
Hmm.
Jewish students and all this stuff. I'm going,
I know. I
what's wrong with
know.
our schools?
Yeah. Well, and that gets into an interesting topic of you look at our schools and you know what they're not even teaching civics anymore, and so you have a generation or two now. Um, coming out into the world that don't like America, or they think it's a bad place, or I talked to a young guy recently and said, "Hey, have you ever been to a third world country?" No. Well, do yourself a favor. You might try visiting one, because you'll come back and kiss the ground of America. We're not perfect, but it's still the greatest place in the world to live and be, and the opportunities. What a success story you are. That you what you've achieved, and really only in America.
Well, also that's the power of education. My poor dad was an academic, a PhD, really good man, but PhDs don't know much about the world, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Academics. And the other thing too is in '65, I went to academy and I had to read this book here, Communist
Hmm.
Manifesto. So I go to all the way from Hawaii to school in New York, and my economics teacher was a B-17 pilot in World War II, and he went to West Point. I went to Kings Point. So academy graduates have a bond amongst each other. And he was talking about what it was like to fly B-17s over World War II in Hamburg, and just lighting the whole Germany and putting them on fire.
Hmm.
And he got shot down 3 times by West Point graduate economics professor.
Wow.
And Jeff, get this. Get this. This is what I'm saying to all your listeners. It's not about you and me at this moment. Most of the guys in my class said, "Oh, Jesus, he got shot down. He had to parachute out. POW, all this stuff." It was like the old TV show Hogan's Heroes. They're all
Oh
POW,
yeah.
all this stuff.
Right.
And so I was just fascinated. So I walk up to him, I go knock on his door, and he goes, "What do you want?" I said, "Sir," I was like 19, 20 years old. I said, "What's it like to be shot down?" You know what he said to me?
What?
Go find out.
Wow. Wow.
He says,
Yeah.
"You're the only guy that's come up here. All
Wow.
the rest of your classmates, they wanted to, we're high paid graduates, because we sell oil tankers and freighters, and we're
Yeah.
passenger liner pilots. I mean, ships.
Yeah.
I said, "What's it like to be shot down?" And he goes, "Go find out, young man."
That's awesome.
And
Wow.
he spoke to my spirit. You know what I'm saying? And you're going,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, is that's when is when your spirit comes alive.
Yeah.
And so I went down 3 times in Vietnam. I
Did
broke
you
my
really?
back.
Wow.
Yeah, broke my back. I just got it fixed last week. But when I
Wow.
came back from Vietnam, I went and knocked on his door. I said, "I'm back." He says, "What was it like?" I said, "It was worth it." He says, "Congratulations."
How many people can say that?
No.
A fraction of the population. Yeah.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying for people watching your show right now is, there's Helen, I think Helen Keller or something. She was deaf, dumb, and blind. And
Yeah.
her saying was, "Life's a daring adventure or nothing." And for
Yeah.
most people, I hate to say it, I look at their lives, I go, shit, I'd shoot myself now. It's so boring.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They got the
Yeah.
job secured. And it's their life, not my life. Give me wrong. I shouldn't judge them. It's so boring.
Yeah.
So boring. They
Right.
get married, they have kids, and I wonder what college Joey's going to go to. I don't know,
I love it. You sound like me, Robert. That's so funny. Yeah. Well,
I
and
tell you what,
that's like people. Oh, go ahead.
no. So when he said to me, when my instructor said to me, "There's only one way you're going to find out. Go sign up."
Go do it.
It was the
Yeah.
best, the the shortest sales pitch I ever had in my life. So
Yeah.
next thing you know, I was down the U.S. Marine Corps, Pensacola, Florida, Camp Pendleton, Vietnam, and it was the best decision of my life. It just took me.
Yeah. Think of what that all taught you, what you learned. You know,
Well,
we,
why am I successful today? It's because I don't care if I live or die. I really don't. I could give a shit.
you're not afraid.
No. Well, I was afraid. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I don't live in fear.
Yeah.
And most people right now are sucking their thumb, hoping their 401k keeps them alive when this market crashes. I
Yeah.
feel for them but that's their life they chose.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always tried to live my life the same way, and I think that's why we relate to each other so much. It's like I said, people go, when are you going to retire? What would you suggest I do? I suck at golf, so I fly airplanes and play music. How many people get to jump in a jet or a helicopter, or get on a stage and perform for people, and it just gives you joy and passion, and it keeps your mind and body going. And so I feel so honored to get to do that. And you're such an inspiration to so many. Years ago, talk about schools, I came up with an idea to get our music scored for orchestras. So we've gone into schools and we'll put like a patriotic concert on, help raise money for the school programs, and I inspire the kids by talking about America. And what's interesting is, a few years ago, several schools we went into would say, well, it's kind of a cool idea, but you're kind of too patriotic. And I remember saying, "What? What? What do you mean too We're in America, you know." And so that almost became controversial to go into a school and sing about patriotism in America, and and that's where we're at right now. So,
Well, that's why when
wow.
the professor shut me down at Arizona State University, I stood on stage and I held this book up. I said, this book was written in 1848. You professors should read this book because you're all Marxists. And they're not bad people. This is the hard part. That's like saying you're a Muslim, you're Jewish, you're Christian. Being a Marxist is like an economic religion. That's all it is. These guys believe in taxing the rich.
Mm-hmm.
They believe in labor unions. That's why the NEA, the National Extortionists, and the National Education Association, teachers unions. That's all my poor dad. They're all Marxist.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Someday you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's all Marxist. And
Yeah.
they believe in it. But when I want to get rich, they go, oh, you're going to exploit the poor. That's Marxist. They don't
Right.
know it though, Jeff.
Right.
They should read this book here. It's only a few pages.
Well, and I compare all that to, raising a child. If you give a child everything and don't make them work or struggle or fail, they're going to have. That's why we have this entitlement thing going on right now. And so, do you think patriotism is, still alive, or is it dead? Or
It's going to take an emergency. I think we're on the verge of war right now because I think March 2024 our markets are going to our banking system's already crashing. I don't know if it
mm-hmm,
started with Silicon Valley, then Silverado, and then
mm-hmm,
Credit Suisse, the Swiss bank collapsed, and then UBS, Universal Bank of the United Bank of Switzerland collapsing as we talk. So when the banking system goes down, there's going to be hell to pay. So
yeah.
there's going
Well,
to be
and,
rioting and starvation and stuff like that.
yeah.
I
Well, and
hope
that's
I'm
they
wrong.
keep.
I hope I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but I've seen it already.
Well, yeah, and I'm with you, and they it doesn't take a rocket, because I'm not that smart with money, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, if you keep printing money, eventually things, it becomes worthless, and all they want is more taxes, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy stuff. So,
Let me read you this quote from Marx. A heavy or progressive income tax is necessary for the spread of communism. Karl Marx, 1848. And so
wow.
so that's why, what did Biden do? I'm not Republican or Democrat, but the first thing he did was hire 87,000 IRS agents to collect the taxes. And the
Hmm.
reason is our debt is out of control.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, they put in another $2 trillion in the last 2 years or something.
Yeah.
The US is
Well,
bankrupt. It was just bankrupt. I mean, it's a big deal.
trillion. It's in when you tell people, I love math, and so, like, you tell people, have you ever thought about a million, billion, trillion? A million seconds is about 11 days. A billion seconds is about 31 years. and a trillion seconds is, I
32,
think it's about, yeah, yeah,
32,000
like a
years.
trillion seconds ago, the pyramids weren't built. And that brings it to perspective. People go, what? That's hard to imagine. So we're
And they print a
30 some,
trillion. They print $1 trillion in a second.
right,
Yeah.
right.
That we got to
So,
pay back.
right. Well, and you look at these government people that are government, quote, government employees that become multimillionaires. How does that happen? So it's it's great stuff. Uh, tell us about your writing. You have, I think, is it 25 books or 26?
I don't keep track. That's like how
Lost
much
track.
gold. How much
Yeah,
gold do I have? I don't know how much I have. How much money
yeah,
do I have? I don't know how much. I have plenty.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, and you came to one of our concerts I think it was about a year ago. We did a show up in Prescott, and I invited you. And the funnest story I love to tell people is, like, you called me because you didn't know for sure if you were going to make it, and then you called me and you were at the front gate at the Prescott County Fair, and you said, "Hey, I'm here," and I go, "Oh, where are you?" And you go, "Oh, I'm at the front gate," and you said, "I'm going to buy a ticket." I go, "No, no, 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 I'm going to come get you." And so I came in a golf cart and came in and picked you up, and I remember driving through the crowds trying to get to the stage, and everybody knew you. Every People would look and go, "Oh my gosh, that's Robert Kiyosaki." And and even, and what was amazing to me is young and old knew who you were. There were kids in their 20s, their early 20s, that looked at you and go, "Oh my gosh, I read your book, Rich Dad Poor Dad." And
Wow.
that so impressed me that, it's not like you're an actor on the big screen all the time, but everyone knows who you are. And it was such an honor to drive you around the fairgrounds and then have you at our show.
Well, thank you.
So
Thank
you're a complete inspiration to so many. And when's your next book? Are you writing a book now, or?
I'm always writing a book, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
That's a good thing. That's awesome. And
yeah,
so, and I'm looking forward to,
I'm always writing books, and I'm always investing.
yeah. So what is your advice for a novice investor like myself?
Don't be novice.
Good advice.
Well, do you want to be an average pilot?
No, no.
No. You know, being an investor is high risk.
Yeah.
And so when you ask what happened, when I came out of the Marine Corps in '74, my first job was to get a job in sales. So I learned how to sell. And then I took night classes in real estate, because what happened in '71 was Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and the dollar became this became toilet paper. And then this here is gold. This is gold. So in 1972, Jeff, I was flying in Vietnam with my Huey, and Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. I flew behind enemy lines, and I tried to buy this with this, and the woman wouldn't sell it to me. She says, "Why would I take this when I got this?" So finally, a long negotiation, I finally bought one of these. It was a South African Krugerrand. I paid $50 for it. I still have it today. That Krugerrand is now worth 2,500 of these. Think about
Wow.
that.
Wow.
It's toilet paper. And that's why it's dangerous right now. The US
Hmm.
is printing so much money, we can't pay off our debt. China's done the same thing as well as Japan.
Hmm.
So I'm afraid, Jeff, what happens when that happens, we go to war. I hope it doesn't happen, but we're on the brink of war now. We can see it with, in the Middle
Yeah.
East, in Ukraine, and in Taiwan. So that's why it's not a time to be average about anything.
Yeah.
So when I came back from Vietnam, I took that. I studied real estate. Then I studied technical trading. Technical trading is markets go up and down like this. So when
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin crashed, I just bought a whole pile of it. And
Wow.
maybe Bitcoin alone made me a multimillionaire. But years and years ago, I took a course on technical trading. How did I make
Mm-hmm.
money when the market goes down?
Wow.
Don't be average. And
Yeah.
most people will hate to say it, they'll probably lose their houses and all this because unemployment is going through the roof right now.
Yeah. Inflation, unemployment.
Well,
So
it's corruption.
yeah.
Biden's a crook. He's a hardcore crook.
Yeah. What so I guess your advice is to, if it's for a young person that's like, I see young people struggling, rents are so high and they, they're higher than mortgages. And, what, for a young person that's just an average job, what would Robert Kiyosaki's advice be to them starting out, getting going?
Don't be average.
Don't be average. I like that.
I mean, I hate to say it, but there was that guy Sam Bankman-Fried. He was
Uh-huh.
the he was the Bitcoin guy. Well, he has that mushroom haircut.
Right.
All these
Yeah.
boys today have these mushroom haircuts,
Right.
and they go
Yeah.
out with the most ugly women on earth.
Yeah.
And so I was at the shopping center the other day, and these kids who look like Sam Beckman-Fried come up to
Yeah.
me with their dorky girlfriends, and I'm going, Jesus, dude, what's going on with you? Happy being average.
Yeah.
Join the fucking Marine Corps. Get some testicles, do something. Strive
Yeah.
for something different. But they're
Yeah.
all afraid. They're TikTok dancers.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
The good news is
It-
there's fewer men out there, which is good. But
mm,
anyway, that's about like right now. I'm looking at a G4, a Gulfstream 4,
nice. It's a
and
beautiful airplane.
so this is what most people most people are trained to say I can't afford it. Tell people what a G4 is. I have a Lear 60 right now. What's a G4?
It's a Gulfstream. It's a bigger airplane. It's pretty nice. You're talking intercontinental.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll go to Hawaii and all of that. So
it'll go around the world.
yeah.
You know, have to refuel, of course. But this is the difference here. You see, this is the cash flow board game behind it. This is what I recommend. Play this board game 10 times, teach 10 people. The problem with most people who go to school, they're trying to figure out how much money can they make. So you as a pilot, you make money here. I make money here. This is called an income statement. This is called the income expense, P&L. This is called the balance sheet. The rich are working down here.
Yeah.
So the G4 comes over here. It's a big liability. For me
Mm-hmm.
to pay for that G4, I have to start an international business. So it's just the way I think. I say, okay, I can afford a G4, which is much bigger than my
Yeah.
Lear 60, but I have to start an international business. So the whole thing there is how do you think?
Yeah.
So most people, like this kid who looked like Sam Beckman with his mushroom haircut,
Mushroom haircut.
comes up to me and goes, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I said, get a life, kid. Join the Marine Corps. Do something.
Uh,
The guy has got no testicles. I
yeah.
don't know what happened to him. I said,
Yeah.
well, be a TikTok dancer and be the best you can be. I don't really know. But the kid had nothing. He had no fire, no guts.
Yeah.
His girlfriend was a sneak little thing sitting on his side going, they've emasculated our children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I told him. I said, if I were you, I joined the Marine Corps, do something. No. Just tell me how to make some money.
Yeah.
I sat there. I said, this kid is pathetic. I mean, smart kid, but he was
Mm-hmm.
pathetic as a man, and I think that's the biggest problem, Jeff. So look,
I think a lot of women are
I
saying, where are the men gone?
yeah. So like over here, I have Ferraris, Rolls Royces, and all this. I have big houses and all this. I just create the asset that pays for that.
Amazing.
I don't have a job up here. I don't want a job. I'm an entrepreneur. So if you
Mm-hmm.
play the cash flow board game back here 10 times, you teach 10 people, your brain will change. It's like, can you learn to be a pilot sitting in a lecture?
No.
No, but that's what kids are trying to do.
Yeah.
They want me to tell them what to do, but I said, you just got to do it. You got to climb in that cockpit and fly that plane.
Right.
Oh, but what if I hurt myself?
Right.
I had this one guy when I was in flight school. He crashed, and he didn't cinch down on his what do you call it, seatbelt in
Yeah.
the cockpit,
Uh-huh.
and it cleaned out his testicles. So he didn't have to worry about kids anymore. You know, what I mean, he was
Right. Right. Talked real high. Yeah.
so pilots talk. So I talked to the crash crew, went to pick him up. You know, this is in Florida when we're still in flight school, and the guy says, "Well, he's going to sing soprano. He'll never have kids." But that was the price we paid.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's like when my standing on the deck of the carrier, my classmates don't come back, and their
Yeah.
crews don't come back. You can't even cry. You know, they're just gone.
Lots of loss. Yeah.
Yeah. And this little kid who wanted me in the Sam Beckman-Fried mushroom haircut.
I love the imitation.
These boys have got no testicles.
Yeah.
You know, something's wrong with them.
Well, they've been taught all of that. They're scared. That I think a lot of women are going, what happened to the real men out there, that, and, I think we're created for a reason. There's a reason men are different than women. And thank God that that's true. I mean, if men had to give birth, I think the human race would cease. But men we're the hunter gatherers. We go out and we're supposed to be anyway.
Well,
And
can you
and I
imagine they're trying to ask us to define what a woman is?
yeah,
I mean,
they can yeah
I think in schools, what is a woman, what is a mushroom haircut? They should be teaching the difference between this and this and this and this and this.
hmm
This is where the rich hang out.
yeah,
This is where the working class hangs out.
yeah,
And if you want to learn something, hang out here. I can afford anything I want. That's why I asked you about the G4. Okay, I want a G4. It's the operating cost. It's not the price of the plane, as you know.
yes,
At that
the
point,
maintenance, yeah.
I have to start a business, an asset that can afford the G4. Same as my Ferraris, same as my Rolls Royces. It's just the way you think.
hmm
But that kid, when I was at the shopping center, in a Sam Bankman-Fried mushroom haircut, doing his TikTok dance, just tell me what to do. And I said, we started this whole conversation. I said, climb in that cockpit,
yeah,
climb in it, risk your fucking life.
yeah. Well, they did a survey recently. I just heard on a newscast. They surveyed people and asked if you were in a plane, like an airliner, and both pilots were incapacitated, do you think you could get it on the ground? And I want to say it was like 40%, almost half said they thought they could land the plane. And you just kind of go, this is the world we're in, that everybody's an expert at everything, and it's like, no, those pilots spend a lot of years getting to that position where they can put a jet airliner on the ground safely.
Yeah.
So, but that's the world we're in, where everybody's an expert,
Right, right, right.
so it's like a friend of mine's a doctor, and he said all the time people come in, oh, I know what I've got. I know what you need to give me, because they've researched online. So they're an expert, and
Yeah.
it's just, that's the world we're in. The young men I raised two sons, and I, told them life's not going to be easy and be tough. You're a man, you gotta do this. So, uh, we I
Well, there's
guess
also something else that's happening is a lot of men are abandoning women with kids. So women are
yeah,
raising boys now.
right,
You know,
right,
and if I didn't have both my father and my mother, I don't know where I'd be.
yeah.
I needed both.
Yeah, I was like you, very, very blessed to have a father, a great mother, and a great father. My
Yeah.
dad was kind of an adventure seeker, you know. Hey, let's try scuba diving. Let's try surfing. Let's try this. Let's try skiing. Let's try flying. He was a private pilot, got me inspired into aviation. And I'm so thankful that I had him to, because I was never afraid. Oh, let's try this, you know, let's try it. Live life a little bit on the edge, you know, there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. So,
So
well, I
Jeff,
guess,
I have to take off, so I have
okay.
another call. But I just want to leave a, congratulations on all your efforts and things you do. You're definitely a man of adventure and a great pilot, most importantly. So if I could leave you with
Robert,
that, and I'll leave with I'll leave you with that story of my economics teacher. The guy had me read this book here back in '65, and in '66 I was in Vietnam. And I was on board a bomb carrier carrying 500, 750, 1,000-pound bombs to Vietnam as a midshipman, as a student. So we went to school on board the ships. And I went ashore in Vietnam. The war has just started, and they asked me. They said, I went to the window. I said, "Hey, are there any Viet Cong here?" And they laughed at me. This was near Da Nang and near Cam Ranh Bay, excuse me. And they said, "Yeah, those two kids there are Viet Cong." So I walked up to them and I sat down and said, "How you guys Viet Cong?" And they spoke some English.
uh-huh.
We sat down and we're both about the same age. And we had drinking beer together. So we're two
Wow,
worlds apart. And I realized what they were fighting for is they wanted the freedom we had. And they're
wow,
willing to kill us for it. And here
wow,
we are, we're giving it away. So this is 1966. I'm sitting in the sand. Vietnam's a beautiful country, great people. So I'm sitting there talking to these two young guys my age, and we looked at each other, and I said, "I'll be back," and they said, "We'll be waiting."
oh, that's
And
a
in
great story.
1972, I flew back. I hope I didn't kill them, but I went back. My mission had changed. I had to kill as many people as I could. And this time, instead of driving a ship, this time I was driving this gunship coming in. And yet, as my instructor said to me, he says, "Go find out. What's it
Yeah,
like? What's it like to fly a bomber over Europe? Go find out.
go
What's like
find out.
what's it like to fly a gunship? Go find out." And what
Wow.
most people do, they got their Sam Bankman-Fried haircuts, and they want to be TikTok dancers. Oh Jesus!
Robert, what amazing advice. I just can't, and I can't thank you enough. It's such an honor. I know you as a friend and a person, and I've got to fly you, but to interview you like this and be I'm just an honor. So thank
Well,
you. And the lessons that you pass on to this world are so needed, and we need more of you.
thank you.
So
Well, need more
yeah,
of you too.
well, thanks.
So
Have
let's go.
a
Let's all go find out what life is like. It's going to get
yeah.
it's going to get really rough because I think we're going for a crash landing economically.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people who've been playing it too safe will get wiped out, unfortunately. But for those who are prepared for it, you'll make fortunes.
Yeah, that's great advice. Let's and we will talk to you soon, and thank you again.
Thank you.
And can't wait to fly you here soon. We'll see you
All right,
soon.
thank you. Maybe my
Have
next
a great.
G4, my
All
G4.
right. Yeah, I'm ready. Uh,
Thank you.
thank you. We're going to sign off, everybody. What a great interview, Robert Kiyosaki. We just can't thank him enough. What an amazing person and an inspiration to all. Thanks for coming to Backstage Pass.
Are you?
Thank you. I'm going to head home.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
I could spend hours with him.
Yeah,
So,
I know. He's got some good stories, that's for sure.
yeah, I like getting him in the airplane, and I got him one-on-one. I get to talk to him.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time, guys.
thank you. And
Take
we'll,
care.
and we'll, as soon as we get all this edited and everything, Barbara, do you want B-roll for Robert?
This was, I don't know that we need it. This was captivating. Trust me. I mean,
Okay.
we can put in, if Sandra, you and I can talk about it later. If you want to put in, flash up a picture of him back in Vietnam era days, because that was a big part of the conversation, flash in books, but we can talk about that after. It was pretty captivating. I'm sitting here in floods of tears, but well, it
Yeah,
was
he's
really
awesome.
meaningful. Yeah, it's
Okay.
just awesome.
So
Thanks
we'll
so
send
much.
you, when it's all done, we'll send you a link or copy of it.
Perfect.
So,
That sounds fantastic.
awesome. And tell Robert, thanks. Such an honor.
Yeah, it turned out great. I'm glad. Very, very glad. All right, you guys have a
Okay.
wonderful day. Take care.
Thank
Talk to
you
you
too. Thanks
soon.
for all your help.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Paul, do you want to break, or do you want to they're 10 minutes away. We scheduled them at the top of the hour. We wanted to leave this open for Robert, because if he continued on, we didn't want to obviously close that conversation for all obvious reasons.
Yeah, he's amazing. And we can edit. Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's amazing. And it's like I said, I love the story of at the county fair. When that really was remarkable to me, because everyone knew him. Even 20-year-olds were coming up like, "You're Robert Kiyosaki." I'm like, "Wow." I read your book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it made me realize that this guy is everywhere. But he's not like a famous actor on stage. He's a best-selling author, but everyone knows him. It's pretty remarkable. So to have him on our show is just such an honor. So and the next guest you're gonna love too, Kevin LaRosa. Is pretty impressive guy. So okay. Yeah,
Hey,
I'm gonna go
Jeff.
use the restroom. Yeah, Barb.
Okay. All right. If you want to take a quick break, that's great. We'll just leave the room open. Other than, I was going to say, we could you could text Kevin and say we're ready to bring him in if he wants, or I can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. Give me just a couple minutes and I'll be right back.
Okay. When I see you come back, I'll make the text.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, sweetie. Yeah, one more. Robert's amazing. Talked about his
Recording stopped.